For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, said the Buddha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace, Bhajana and this from Srila Prabhupada. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of jnana, karma, or bhakti. As indicated by the word ananyacheta, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti, or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a Jnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interests. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is very easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various planetary expansions and incarnations, such as Ram and Nrsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, he is especially inclined toward those who are always serving him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in the Vedas, Katha Upanishad, Part 1, Chapter 2, Text 23, Yam Avaisya Vishnute Kena Labhyas Tasyaiva Atma Vishnute Kartam Swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 10, Vidami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord gives such devotees sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vaikuntha, of Vrindavan, by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, quote, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there's God." As indicated by the word Satatam and Nityasa, which means always, regularly, or every day. A pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Santa Bhakta, engaged in devotional service and neutrality. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as a servant. Shakta Bhakta, engaged as a friend. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as a parent. And Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as a conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. And similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna consciousness process of chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Om Gyananandana Shalakaya Shalakaya Shalakaya. This verse here, we're seeing Krishna is distinguishing between devotees that are engaging for purposes of their own. So when we first come to Krishna consciousness, there may be many things within the movement that we're attracted to. And pretty much people have as common knowledge the belief that God provides everything that we need. So initially, coming with that idea, we have in our minds things that we also feel we need. And so our pursuits in the initial stages of spiritual realization are for being able to find some form of satisfaction with the purpose of our lives, that we can engage ourselves in an activity that we feel as though we are meant to do. That is like we're being part of a whole. Recently, I'm just sharing with Jigaburu, because as we see, temple room's not really full. And we have not been engaging in the activities from the Detroit temple that we have once were engaged in, means going even door to door. I have come now to the stage where I'm realizing, and when I initially came to Krishna consciousness, I always felt, because Bhagavad Gita, this battle was fought on a battlefield. And before the battle was fought and engaged in, this was a discussion that went on. But this discussion that went on was between two people who were themselves in the government. It was the government, as it was known, that was controlling the entire planet. Maharaj Parikshit Maharaj was an emperor. The position of an emperor is to govern the entire planet. So we don't have any evidence of this in our present society because no one is qualified. Krishna is pointing out in this verse what qualification is necessary for one to be able to be on the path of bhakti and not ever be deviated. So, as we see in Bhagavad Gita, we have confidential information. When devotees take part in bhakti, in the spiritual realization of what Krishna is himself offering through this process of bhakti, then we gain what is called most confidential. Because this is the difference between jnana and vijnana. Jnana is knowledge. We accumulate knowledge to be able to perform our functions in this world. But vijnana is the knowledge applied in Krishna consciousness that gives realization by the Supreme Person himself to each and every one of us individually, so that he perfects that relationship we are having with him through those acts we are engaging in this world. Now, with that in mind, that we are actually finding ourselves studying under the feet of the Emperor of the world, they say, taking the same teachings, the same instructions the Emperor of the world is being given. So this sets all the people who are themselves tuning in to Krishna's advice that sets them all above the rest of the society. Because you are coming and surrendering to Krishna to fulfill Krishna's will now in order to perform these functions of bhakti. You're going to set aside all your own thoughts of your abilities and limitations. And now open up your consciousness and your heart to Krishna's opening doors, to Krishna's giving the means by which we have to carry out this that is being described as bhakti. A few years before I came to the temple, in the Sankirtan office was a big map. And it was a map of Detroit that block by block by block, devotees were going door to door. And they were marking off every neighborhood they had gone to. And they would have notes, and all the people that there showed interest, they had notes on that too. And see, why we have an empty temple rooms, because we're not doing that anymore. But this act of going door to door is not unique to Krishna consciousness. And in fact, when I was a boy, many people who took up this opportunity that's available in the country that we live in to develop their own business would in fact go door to door selling things. Right? And this was a common practice for many to do this. If we, because this is based on governmental teaching, Srila Prabhupada said, Bhagavatam is the law books for the next 10,000 years. Law books meaning the guidance for all the world, for every society in the world to be able to gain knowledge from, to be able to more effectively perform the functions that we have in society. And not only that, Krishna reveals through this bhakti science the means of being able to reach the most amount of people, to be able to touch the hearts of people, and to gain the love for others through this by this chanting that we're engaging in. And Krishna is pointing out that there is no other means for those who are in the material world to be able to find relief from all problems. They are causing themselves the problems. And it is this idea in our minds that we are separate from God, and that we have to create our own ideas of our own purpose in life. We have to go about with our own energy. Everything is I, me, and mine. I have to do this, I have to do that. And that is all because people are not knowing that Krishna in control has the ability in us to give us that ability to function more perfectly than we would be able to function without him. And he's saying that no one can function as well as devotees are functioning. So what I come to realize is, see, our programs failed to some extent in the beginning stages by not being able to continue on a regular basis. Very important, Srila Prabhupada brings out in purports, and Krishna speaks specifically about service being constant. And what the problem is with holding a job and trying to apply Krishna consciousness is that while you're at your job for 8, 10 hours a day, you've got to be concentrating on what you're doing. You've got to give your boss the best you can. And you've got to impress them with how efficient you are in your job, because there's 10 people knocking on the door waiting to take your job from you. You don't have that same problem in Krishna consciousness. As many people as can take up this service of Krishna consciousness. So, if we work together with the police department, see, even if you're holding a job, still devotees are finding themselves once a week, twice a week, times a week, and doing things at home as well. They're engaging in bhakti. So, if we can work together with the legal system, that means specifically going to police stations, getting from them, we're going to help them. We're going to help them know the problems that the society is facing by our communication with the people in the society. So we go with the hope of bringing them relief from their sufferings, knowing in our minds that we will be able in the future to bring them prasad, to bring them books. And by going door to door, we have a list of things that the police would like to know that may be troubling people. Do you know of crime that's going on in your city? Do you know of people that are hungry? Do you know of the elderly that may be having problems with dementia, these forms of things that need help? We make a list out of all, we have all these questions answered now. We have now very uniquely, which we did not have 40 years ago, a process replicating Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita. Every one of Srila Prabhupada's letters, all his conversations, on one little tiny disc. You know how much these discs cost to print, to produce? You can buy them 100 for $20, which is 20 cents a disc. And it contains all. It contains everything. Now, of course, on the internet, see devotees going door to door selling books. Had to get a donation, $10 or more, to be able to write and give a book, because it costs $5 to print the book. Plus it's $10 worth of gas to get to the places we're going to, so you have to get enough money for the book. But if the CD, having everything on it, costs 20 cents to produce, you could give them a CD. And then with the value they give it themselves, when we come back the second time, you can take the donation then. And see, working in cooperation with the police department, we get their support. We bring appreciation for the loss of the land into the hearts of the people. We restore in the hearts of the people respect and love for the guardians of society, which the police department is supposed to be. Now, listen to this. When we take donations, we are taking donations for the sake of distributing food for shopping, right? I'm telling you, when we were collecting and giving out stickers, sometimes you could get $100 from one person for a penny sticker, right? Just because of the cause, because devotees get so full of appreciation for what Krishna consciousness is giving, when they start to reflect with other people about the value of this society, people do they want to give. So we take that money, 50% goes to the temple, 50% goes to the production of foodstuffs for the schools, for the children, for every child to have in their school prasadam free, fulfilling the name meaning prasad, which is mercy. Can you buy mercy? If you kill somebody, can you pay somebody and get free from them? No, you can't do that. So this prasadam distribution and book distribution simultaneously is what Srila Prabhupada wanted when he said, books are the basis. That means they are the means for us to be establishing a foundation for the temple to be supported by, that will keep us eternally supported. Not making up things of how we can individually get rich, which is what devotees did to a great extent in the beginning stages, because young people come into the movement had their own ideas. But when we follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions, to the T. This is what we see in all the teachings of Bhagavatam. Those that follow the instructions of the spiritual master are empowered by Krishna. See, this is Krishna's movement. It's not even Srila Prabhupada's movement. It's Krishna's movement. And we see by the power that Srila Prabhupada revealed through Krishna empowering him because he was following the instructions of his spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada said, if I had lived by my own will, I would have gone off and created a big pharmacy, had a big business. And this is advice to us. We think the jobs that we have are necessary for us to continue our bhakti and to continue our connection with the temple and continue supplying ourselves. In the last year, Krishna has enabled me to be able to have a touchstone. If anybody wants to leave their job and they need enough money to support their family, I have the knowledge, I have the ability to set up on them a robot on the internet connected with a robot that can, you set it and forget it, and it automatically invests and makes you money. But the only reason I would give this is so devotees can become free from their bondage, that these jobs that we are holding, that we think are our greatest future. You know, fame is something that is thought of by the world as something to be attained, right? And so when people go looking for their purpose in life to fulfill, they want also fame with them. But this is a taintedness we have. And we are all tainted with false ego. So we all have personal desires many times that we put in front of Krishna's desire. And so this keeps us from being able to experience that completeness of love that Krishna is talking about. Srila Prabhupada also is talking about and revealing in the purport that is the only way we are going to be able to gain the ability to keep this eternal. Because this bhakti is not for a few years and then when we die, we give it up. No. This bhakti is going to carry us into the next set of circumstances we are going in, wherever Krishna prepares us to go. Srila Prabhupada came here by choice. Now, I can be speaking in that regard to the United States. He came to the United States by choice. But Srila Prabhupada, coming from the spiritual world, we know this by his life. We know this by the words he spoke about his own personal relationship with Krishna. His word. Never was there time. Never was there a time when that did not. So we know by his example. Now, Krishna is giving us the opportunity to develop within our hearts that same desire, to put Krishna's desire before our desires. And the guarantee is that you will enter into that eternal path. You will be on that eternal path, and that which no one can take you off. So my pursuit to know about this was not for my own ability. I don't even use it myself, because I don't need anything. I had doubts and fears when I first came to the movement as a young person. I was at the time 33 years old. But still, even at that point, and many devotees I'm finding out at this stage of life as well are creating questions in their minds and make the right decision. Is this the career for me? Is this life that I'm choosing to dedicate to Krishna going to be that which is most purposeful? And will I be totally satisfied with my endeavors? And these questions we have to take to Krishna and ask Krishna to purify our minds, give us the proper perspective to see where Krishna can give us the ability to more purify those desires we have, to be able to give pure love of Krishna to everyone that we meet. And this is what it is that we're giving, actually. It's love. It's not a desire to get something from someone else. It's developing the desire of ourselves to give what we have, the greatest gift that we do have, and that is Krishna. And the greatest purpose there is for the human form of life to involve itself in is this Krishna consciousness. And it is offering so many ways then. Cooking in the kitchen, cleaning the floors, painting the walls, cutting the grass, growing flowers, planting seeds. So many available opportunities to take part in that movement that is giving eternal truth, eternal relationship with the supremely all-powerful person who has your very interest in mind, in giving us the completeness that Krishna consciousness is. He wants to complete us as human beings and help us to know what the purity and the strength of his love is for us, each individually. I've said through the week in classes, when we look at the Bhagavad Gita and we see how personal a friendship Arjuna and Krishna are revealing to us. Think about how close they are, so much so that Krishna didn't give this Bhagavad Gita to everyone on the battlefield. He spoke this personally to Arjuna. But what does that mean to you and me? He is giving that same conversation he had with one of his most dearest friends on the battlefield. And he's giving it to each and every one of us personally. What does that say about Krishna's love for us? See, that's why we got to take Krishna's desire above our own, to know what the love of Krishna is. And that will be driving us to want to give it to everybody else. It's just overflowing. Probably none of us have ever read the Bible. Maybe some. The Bible talks about an eternal river of love that flows within all those living entities that have the vision, that have the eyes, that have the desire to know what that eternal truth is that we all share in common. This that we have with Krishna ourselves as a personal relationship, we're not the only ones having it. Everybody is having it, and not everybody knows it. When an atheist sits by himself in a room, contemplating all the problems of his life, how to pay his bills, how to, cope with his children's problems, how to answer his wife when she asks questions he doesn't know how to answer. What they're seeking in their private place, in their conversation with their mind, is advice from Supersoul. So similarly, when we pray, we're not praying to Krishna, stop everything you're doing now, Krishna, you gotta listen to me, because I got a big problem here, you gotta. No, Supersoul. Krishna has cared before the foundation of this world ever happened, the universe itself came into existence. The concept of Supersoul and the soul sharing every body they enter into was already established before this universe came out, this time. Because the universe has come out they go back in. They come out, go back in. All the people on the planets of the universe are thinking they're all doing this first time around, and then it comes and it ends. This has been going on since time immemorial. We have the choice. We can either be eternally bound up by our desires to completely find some satisfaction in this world, or we can be set free by fulfilling the desires of the Supreme Person who will reveal to us individually, each and every one of us, our particular position that we play in that whole. Because until we are all completely whole, and I'm talking about the whole world. See, when the order is established in the world, we're all family members. And in Krishna consciousness, family means eternal family. So we have family here, and we think, somebody dies, oh no, they're gone, never see them again. If you read the Ekadasi book, you come to find out that even these temporary relationships we establish here on this planet, because we are involved in bhakti, those that we are associated with as well, who love and who derive satisfaction from hearing that truth that bhakti is. This is the most confidential knowledge that is actually food to the soul. See, we take food in the form of prasada, which nourishes the body. But what we need for continuance of our faith is that most confidential information, most confidential knowledge that is the substance of the soul that we are. So as we share association with one another on these valuable concepts of truth, we're actually feeding the soul with that substance that it's actually made of, because it's made. Absolute truth is the substance of the soul. So as we share association with one another, without even taking food, we're actually taking food. We're taking that spiritual soul. You know, in the heavenly planets, I was reading 19th century about Ramayana, and it's revealed in there, even in the heavenly planets, to take Somaras, you have to be qualified. You have to be qualified and born in a certain situation and have access to those who have access to the Somaras. What Krishna is giving us. The Somaras extends one's life on the heavenly planets, and they live to be about 35,000 of our years, right? Which seems like a long time to us where we are situated. But what this bhakti is that we're drinking from, what the cup of bhakti is that we're taking to our full satisfaction, is giving us incomparable to what that Somaras in the heavenly planets is offering. Because we're engaging in that which is eternal. That Somaras is providing a little bit of an extension time here. But what Krishna is offering through this devotional service, so there is no thing in the world that can compare to the souls getting by Krishna's power the ability to continue after this life forever and ever. Unlimited. That is God's, Krishna's, this Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's gift to us. And we take it if we have to give it to others. And in any way they see what is benefit for them is the amount they will give, not benefit for us. The giving that someone does in exchange for Bhagavad Gita is their benefit. In other words, the more you give, the more benefit. See, in the material perspective, it's just the opposite, isn't it? If you give me $100 for something, I get $100 for something. I give you something for $10, and that's my benefit. But if you give in the spiritual world, if you give, it's to your benefit. See the difference? And everything that's functioning in the material world is functioning in that concept that you give me something and I get benefit. Whereas in Christian consciousness, I get benefit by giving to you something. And see, that changes the whole mood of the entire society. If we're all in our minds wanting to benefit others, there's no crime. No crime. And see, we can as well, we can create cities without crime. You create a Christian city. You create an atheist city. Create a Krishna conscious city, all housed under one building. You know, a few years ago, 20, 30 years ago, we used to have shopping centers they call malls, right? Go in this mall, it's like a city. You got maybe 50 different stores inside of there. All of them big, huge places that could instead be turned into dwellings for people to live in. So you go downtown instead of the shopping mall. It's a Christian city that has requirements for you to be able to live in. You can't live in it unless you meet the requirements necessary. So that's the same in the temple. We have 4 regulative principles. We live by those principles. Each city has its regulative principles that they want to abide by. So there's no interference that way with people making wars against each other. They live peacefully amongst themselves, with all of them sharing as a family. This makes us closer than blood. Actually, in Christian consciousness, it's eternal. So the body we're dwelling in right now, we're looking at as the most advanced form on the planet. But if we have a vision of the universe, that's what Gayatri gives us. So if the Buddhists chant Gayatri 3 times a day, Gayatri enables us to realize where we are in the universe, to have a mindset that puts us closer to the mindset of those who are in the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, we are the ones who have left town. We've gone to the outskirts where the Bhagavans live. The people that have looked to find their own pleasures outside of town. Well, that's where we are. We're out in the boondocks. And Krishna wants to bring us back home. So it is a simple process, chanting Hare Krishna to find the ability. Maybe people first come to the process, they see things as difficult. You know, 50 years ago, it was actually a common belief amongst, as far as I understand, most people in the world, that if you don't eat meat, you will die. They believe this. They believe this. When I was a kid, the Medical Association had established giving these teachings to very young children in their growing up stages. You had to eat meat. If you didn't eat meat, it was believed you would die. What kind of nonsense this is? And this being promoted by the societies of the world that are considering themselves the most advanced. Why? Because they have not the knowledge of Bhagavatam, the histories of the world. And most of the societies of the world are cut off from the histories of the original people. Much because of wars that have taken place, much because of prejudices in the minds of others that have fought these wars. And so those histories, similarly in the United States here, the tribes of people that lived on this continent were outnumbering the amount of population we have now. There were if not thousands, there were at least hundreds of tribes, okay? These people seen by our present community to be primitive. But there were 90 million, one tribe of people called the Lakota people. There were 90 million. There were Cherokee people, there were Iroquois people, there were Bobby people, there were Mohawk people, there were Apache people, just the list goes on and on and on. There was, this is evidence, there was a big slaughter that went on this very continent we're living on. Call it God, guts, and guns. That's what took over this land that was populated to a great extent by people whose ancient ways are very similar to the ancient ways established in ancient India. Same medicinal practices, same now the insignia that we use of Krishna's chakra, called the swastika. And now it has been so misused and stolen. Hitler stole this sign from what exposure he had to the Vedas. And now, because of that, if you have a swastika up anywhere, people think you're communist and you're against the regular government. And this is what all these wars of the past have done to us all as a people, preventing us from being able to see the very precious lifestyles of the people who were here as well, that had a connection as well with God, given as well instructions of singing and dancing. That's what they did spiritually. That was their worship. That's what they did. And they had worship for means of offering things to God. Now, what is glorious for us to take advantage of in this age is knowing what is coming. These people had with them knowledge, much like we have, of God. And those among them who were educated in the spiritual path to be able to see the future. They could see things that will come. And those were called seers, S-E-E-R-S. And in the Vedic culture, we call those people having those abilities as those having trikala. They can see the past, they can see the present, they can see the future. And Krishna will give you that ability as well by studying the Vedas. What these ancient civilizations are saying, we are being kept from the knowledge of us, we as white race of people that are on this continent, because of the prejudice that our race has shown towards these Aboriginal people. That what is coming is the melting of the ice caps, north and south. And it is by the building of pyramids that this is going to happen. I was invited to help with building those pyramids. It was in 1978, 79, and they were just beginning at that time. Mayan, other Indian, we call people that were on the land at the time beginning. Mayan, Incan, and Aztec cultures are the ones responsible for building these pyramids. And they are right now finishing the building of these pyramids on the inner earth. Bhagavatam reveals to us that there is, as described in Bhagavatam, what is called the center earth. There are people living inside this planet. According to the findings of the research done by Admiral Byrd in the 1940s, when he was commissioned by the United States Navy to find the North and South Poles, he entered into a land by an opening in the earth that shows another sun that has 11 races of people on the interior surface, 7 of which are giants. They are forms of human life that were here from previous ages. In every age, the stature of human beings decreases by 50%. So we are now standing normally at best 6 feet tall, more or less 6 feet 7 feet. In the previous age, they stood 12 feet tall. Krishna was 12 feet tall on the battlefield, say. In the age prior to that, they were 25 feet tall. And in the age prior to that, in Satyuga, which Krishna is going to restore to this planet by the chanting of his holy name. And in Satyuga they were 50 feet tall. So we can understand with those left over, see, a lot of races that are on the exterior surface of the earth now came from the interior surface. And these are the histories I'm saying that we are missing. That for the most part, modern society has looked at as primitive or undeveloped or underdeveloped or undersocialized. So many terms we have for groups of people that we create biases in our minds with. And in this way we have separated ourselves from one another and not by that knowing what kind of relationships we would be having with each other if we knew the completeness of all of us are meant to be a part of the whole. We are part of the whole, and Krishna is the whole, and all of his people is just like a bouquet of flowers. When you're decorating a house with flowers, you want to have as many varieties as you can possibly. They all have a different aspect, a different feature, different personality, like people, right? So people are like that as well. And in Krishna's bouquet, there are so many varieties of flowers. And in Krishna's people, there are so many varieties of people. But these varieties are not meant for us to look down on, condemning one another. But they are to be looked at by appreciating the fact that Krishna loves variegatedness. These varieties we have of life, Sri Prabhupada said, what do you say? Variety is the spice of life. So, all the human beings we see on the planet that have ever existed on the planet, everyone an individual. You know, they say they founded this nation creating a constitution with a totally false belief that all men are created equal in the eyes of God. It's not true. You're not created. First off, we're not created. But everyone as an individual, as an eternal being, has individually taken part in activities of the material energy that makes each and every one of us unique. And if you ask every one of us the question, what is your favorite food? What is your favorite color? What is your favorite place in the world? Every one of us has a different expression. And every one of us unique. And Krishna, in that way, is dwelling and sharing every experience we are having in these bodies, sharing with us. He knows where all of us are. So, when we see ourselves and think of ourselves as most elevated on the planet, a more perfect way of seeing the situation we're in is taking a universal perspective and knowing there are forms of life that do not require other human beings to be united with in order for life to come out of that body. These are monuments. And those who were born directly out of Krishna's body, Lord Brahma has such a body. Narad Muni was born directly out of Brahma's body. Lord Shiva came directly out of Brahma's body. The Vedas came out of Brahma's body. When we chant Hare Krishna, it is Veda coming out of our body. It is true. Now, when you preach to others, you set yourself in the position to be their authority, their teacher, their giver of truth, right? So in this way, they are as well your children. So people coming to Christian consciousness later, the stage of life, maybe they've already raised, filmed children in a family, or maybe they haven't. Maybe they think, well, by taking a Christian consciousness, they give up family and all this. No. But the real family relationships that devotees have to establish with one another are those that are of an eternal nature. So everything that we have in Christian consciousness is of a far superior nature than anything being offered in the world. And if anybody can find anything comparable, please let me know that I find eternal truth, that substance of eternity. The statement in the Bible, faith is the substance believed in or hoped for. So this faith that we have in Krishna, we are hoping to be perfected. But as we do become more and more perfect in our application of our lives, we come to find there is no end. There is no end to completeness and perfection. And the pursuit we can make in our lives to find the fullness of love that we're all looking for. All our pursuits for satisfaction in this world are that desire we have to see love and to know love in its completeness. And that's what Krishna is in us. And that's the relationship he wants us to realize with him, is the love he has for us. He wants it to be with us. We have classes every single day. Everyone's welcome to come to class. We have class every morning at 8 a.m. We serve Prashadam at 9 a.m. And this Krishna consciousness practice of chanting Hare Krishna, we take part in from 5:30 until 7:30. And that enables us to chant 16 rounds. See, we have been in this material energy for so long, millions of years, actually closer probably to billions, because it's millions of lifetimes it takes to reach human being. So they're talking about evolution, but the real evolution is happening spiritually to the souls that we are making progress. So when we look to those levels of advancement spiritually that there are in the universe, then we can more properly see the perspective we should have on the forms that we have been created to. These human forms we are using because we have come out from the created body, from the lowest folds there is in the human body. But the process previously practiced in previous ages, birth would come out of someone's ear, birth would come out of someone's nose, someone's mouth. These bodies that we have don't function like that. And because of that, we have been born with false egos. And we use those false egos to attract one another, to take part in that thing that we think of as pleasure, to bring other human beings into this world. But from the spiritual perspective, universally, see, in the spiritual world, there is no such activity going on. There is no birth and death there. So without birth and death, the activities that we are so accustomed to in this world that we see every day going on, they don't even exist in the spiritual world. There is no dying there. So you don't need newspapers to tell you who died and why and how. Everything there is of a spiritual nature. So here are the things that we think of even as inanimate, like a conch shell, right? You blow a conch shell, it's a dead piece of bone that comes from another creature.